afternoon, Summit. Hope you're all well. Hope everyone's been fed, watered. I know some of you might be missing a small football team a little bit further down the corridor, but let's not talk about that. We're here to talk about increased campaign velocity with Marketo Engage and Workfront, and joined today by BNY Mellon. Now, if you're sat there wondering, am I at the right session? It does happen. Really, we're looking to talk about executing email marketing at scale and driving better performance whilst developing and retaining a great culture. If you don't work directly with email marketing, that's okay. There's still going to be some takeaways and efficiency gains that we hope you'll gain from this session as well. Now, some very quick intros. I'm Kieran Smith from Adobe, industry strategist for financial services in EMEA. I'm going to be passing over to Andy for most of this session, so he's going to be doing the legwork. Andy, do you maybe just want to start with the intro of who you are, your role, and I guess for anybody in the audience, given we're in EMEA, a little bit on what BNY Mellon do as well, for those less familiar.
Yep. Hi everyone, Andy Mullings from BNY Mellon Investment Management. We're a B2B2C business, so we obviously put fund packages together that then go to market through platforms like Hargreaves Lansdown, and then you as the consumer can then invest in those packages. I've been working at BNY Mellon for 2.5 years. I've been working with Adobe products for roughly about 15 years. And before BNY Mellon, I was an Adobe consultant, mainly specializing in Marketo, Workfront, and Adobe AEM. And here today, obviously, to tell you a little bit about our story at BNY Mellon. So let's first start with the challenges that we faced in terms of campaign execution. So when I joined BNY Mellon, one of the big problems was heavy reliance on manual process. Working with agencies, everything done by sending an email back and forth with a spreadsheet attached or a document attached. We also didn't really have many specialists within the business. We had lots of great content writers, brand team, but we didn't really have any specialists that were experts, around technology. That led to increasing costs, and obviously, when you use an agency, you want the agency to come in and add value, working on like a particular project. But what we had was agencies there, 365, 24/7, basically doing, basic things that we should really be doing internally. And then also in terms of governance, like I said, things being done on email, within spreadsheets. If something did go wrong, trying to unpick that and actually find out what went wrong, was going to be very challenging. So we didn't really have, great governance process or the ability to audit. So, how did we solve it? And I want to start first of all with our focus on, people and process, something that's really close to my heart, and, how we focused on people and process to, enable our transformation. So first of all, people. And for me, throughout my career, I'll tell you this is the most important thing. You have to get the culture right in your team. If you have a good culture, you can achieve many things, no matter how difficult the problem. If you have a bad culture, it's going to be very, very difficult to do that. So we needed to build the right team. So first of all, we started with, recruitment. We had particular profiles that we were looking for, and we went out to market. During the recruitment process, we actually decided to do personality assessments. We used something called Clifton Strengths, something available online. Most businesses use it. And it would allow us to see the different profiles of the individual. Are they analytical? Are they productivity driven? Do they have a resilient mindset? And also we were looking, did they have experience within the technology platforms that we owned? The other thing that was really important to me from working at agency, one of the things I found out quite quickly was that doing campaign execution burns people out. It's extremely tiring. It's a little bit like working in a factory. It's the same thing over and over again. Obviously, the content's different, the image is different, but if you're on the technology side, it is very monotonous. I didn't want the team to feel like they worked in a factory. I wanted the team to feel like they were growing as individuals and improving, and it was a job that they could stay in for the long term and really develop their career. So we balanced BAU with growth projects, integrations, lead management, lead scoring. So these projects went into Workfront as well as the BAU tasks. And then we tried to split it 50-50. So the guys would spend 50% of the time doing the campaign execution and 50% time being challenged, learning new things and growing as individuals. We also had an open door policy. I was always there to listen to the team if they had an idea, if they were frustrated with something, if they're having difficulties with a stakeholder, and always there to help them improve, break down problems, and point them in the right direction. And then also reward and praise. And this is something that I've probably learned the hard way. Early in my career, I love it when the praise came to me. But as I've grown and matured, I love giving praise and seeing a smile on people's faces. So when the team did a great campaign, I made sure that an email went out to the entire business. The team had done a great job. We achieved the benchmark we were looking for. And that was a big part of our strategy to make sure that they felt like they were part of a much bigger organization, but also they were getting the individual praise as well. And then in terms of the process, so, we needed to improve this process massively. It was costing us a lot of money and it was burning a lot of time. The first thing we had to do was understand the process. So we worked a lot offline to break it down, and map it out in like flow charts to understand the process in full. One thing about Workfront is that you must understand is if a process is broken outside the Workfront, it will not work in Workfront. Workfront doesn't fix broken processes. It makes them more efficient and effective. So we had to fix some parts of the process first. We had to make some changes. And then we decided to break the process down into 5 parts: pre-configured templates, custom data collection, semi-automation between Marketo and Workfront. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on this in a minute. The compliance element, which is key for any financial service business or anyone working in professional services or other related industries. And then the scheduling and go live, which is actually launching the campaign to the wider market. Now, at the center of our transformation was 2 Adobe products, Marketo Engage and Workfront. I was very, very familiar with Marketo, and I'd had roughly about 2 years experience with Workfront. So I was looking forward to bringing these platforms together, to make them work at BNY. And we're going to show you today how the process worked. So first of all, let's just start with the use cases for the 2 platforms, sort of how we were using them. And I'm sure everyone in the room will see some similarities here. So Marketo, email, webinars, events, nurture campaigns. That's the type of thing we were doing within Marketo. Cross-channel campaigns using the LinkedIn connector. If you're not using that, certainly look it up. It's a free connector. It allows you to do, omni-channel campaigns using Marketo across email and social at the same time. Personalization, building customer experiences based on people engaging on the website and then sending them in a particular direction. Lead management is a big focus of ours across all markets to tell sales when somebody clicks on multiple products, hey, you should give them a call. Insights and reporting for sales and marketing. So we use the sales insight dashboard within CRM for this. We push all of the insights and interesting moments in there so the sales team can see exactly what's going on. And then also we have some financial reporting, looking at the cost of the different campaigns and the cost per click. Workfront, slightly different use case. We use this for managing requests. So when somebody says, hey, I want to launch an email campaign, it comes into Workfront and we see that request. We also manage the growth projects that I'm talking about. So I set these projects up, put the briefs in, put the tasks, and then I hand them over to the team for them to look after. Compliance approvals, there's an element of Workfront called Workfront Proof, and we do all our compliance document product approvals using that particular tool. And then also we have ticketing systems within Workfront as well. New users, training, and just general questions come into our system as well. And we have an SLA, and the team works through them and replies to all of those different tickets that are raised by the business. And then the actual process itself. So like I said, the first part was pre-populated templates. So if you imagine each campaign, an email, a webinar, an event, there's a different type of project template you would have, different type of information you need to collect, different people that need to be involved. So we had predefined templates for each campaign already set up in Workfront. So somebody says, I want an email. Next thing that happens is an email project is created. And then for me in Workfront, this is where the magic happens. This is for me that makes Workfront a little bit different to other project management systems I used. Within each task, you can apply what's called a custom form. And within that task, you can collect custom information. So in our email build task, we ask for things like the subject line, the body text, the CTA link, the disclaimer, and the individual who's requesting that campaign needs to fill that task in with all of that information. Once we have that information, it's a bit like putting a square box in a square hole. That information perfectly fits with our Marketo templates. The subject line, the body text, the disclaimer, the CTA link exactly matches what we need to populate the Marketo template. This is the part that we actually kept semi-automated though, rather than full automation. It is possible to fully automate it, but what we found at BNY is sometimes there are custom requests, maybe like 1 in 20. We do about 800, campaigns a year. So you might get something like a co-branded template where, it's being sponsored by someone. And if we'd fully integrated it, it would have probably created some challenges for us. So we've kept it a little bit flexible, and we do transfer the information over manually between Workfront and Marketo. But because it fits perfectly, it's still a very effective process. And then once the email is actually built and ready in Marketo for the campaign, or there might be multiple emails as part of the campaign, we download the HTML from Marketo. It's 2 clicks. You get the HTML file, and then we put it back in Workfront. And then we initiate what's called a Workfront proof, which is the compliance approval process. It starts, first of all, going back to the individual who requested the campaign for a peer review. So they can take a look at the content, the imagery, the fully formed email template, and make sure they're happy with it. After that, it goes to the compliance team, and they check it and make sure it's fit for purpose, and it is in line with all the different standards that are required for a financial services organization. And then once the Workfront proof approval comes through, the guys can schedule and send the campaign. And that's the sort of 5-step process. In terms of the performance gains we got from changing this from that old manual process to the new, the old process, 800 emails in a year, took us 16 hours per email. The new process takes us 10 hours. So we're shaving off 6 hours per email. It still takes us a long time in financial services. There's a lot to do, creating the content, the images, the compliance approvals, filling out the brief, but it's a considerable difference to what it did take us previously. It's roughly about 4,000 to 5,000 hours saved. And just imagine how we can reinvest that time as well to improve our systems and grow our individuals. And the additional benefits of having a process that works, that is partly automated, and that people enjoy using and really see benefit from. The first one is that boosted morale and culture that I talked about. The systems we've got, the guys enjoy using, they're set up correctly, efficient and effective, and the guys really use them platforms day in, day out. We improved our knowledge and skills by bringing new people in, and we've also retained those people. With our old process, and I'm sure in businesses that you've worked in where poor processes are in place and people are moaning all the time, you will find that people leave the organization, good people that are talented and that can add value. But with our new processes, we haven't lost any individuals to date over the sort of 2.5 years we've had the processes in place. And then improve risk. Unfortunately, it's not all about innovation and creativity at financial service organizations. It is about being able to have a clear audit trail. With our new process, we can pinpoint at any stage of the process where it went wrong. Was the content submitted incorrect? Did the compliance review not happen correctly? Was the email scheduled at the wrong time? We can find out that information very easily with the new process. So we've massively reduced risk, and so far we've had no errors reported with the new process. I'm going to hand back over to Kieran. He's give you a little bit of the industry perspective and cover off some questions.
Amazing. Thank you, Andy. Guys, can we get a round of applause quickly for Andy for telling a story and all the prep? So, Andy, I'm going to put you in the hot seat a little bit, but firstly, I think today's session is particularly poignant, right? Campaign execution within financial services has got some harrowing statistics attached to it at the minute. You can see here CMOs are really lacking confidence in the consistency and the efficiency of their campaign execution. There's also massive dependency on agencies. Now, I don't want to sit here and slag agencies off. Some of them do amazing work. I'm very well aware of that. But it can sometimes be pretty costly. It can also sometimes be a little bit inefficient going between organizations. Now, Andy, there might be a few people in the audience that maybe don't have confidence in the consistency of their execution, or things are maybe super inefficient at the moment. Where do they get started? How did you kick things off at BNY to start driving improvements in efficiency?
Yeah, I think like I said a little bit earlier, the key thing is to really start offline. to sit down in the room with the right parties. This project wasn't just a marketing operations project. It involved many different areas of the business. So getting everyone together, listening first of all, understanding where the core pains are, taking that information in, and then obviously mapping that out offline. So you've got a plan of, okay, this is what we want to build, this is what we want to move forward. Then obviously reaching out to agencies and people like Adobe to say, hey, this is our plan. Can you help guide us and point us in the right direction?
Amazing, thank you. And I want to move lanes a little bit. You mentioned hundreds of hours, thousands of hours, I think it was saved, right? Hundreds of days. How's that been reinvested back into BNY?
Yeah, so something something I think is really important that a lot of organizations get wrong is that, you see the technology, you'll see it today and you see all these amazing things it can do. But before you can do all those amazing things, you have to get the foundations right first. And getting that campaign execution piece right was our sort of key foundational piece. We could support the BAU for the business, the basics. The time we've then saved, we've been able to invest it in other projects, big projects that have also made a big difference to the business. We've now got lead management across all markets. In a asset management firm, that is quite rare to have that sort of advanced stage alerts being sent to sales, say, hey, call this person, they're interested in this particular fund. We've started to personalize our emails, do A/B testing to find out what really works in our market, and also customer journeys. So when somebody looks at a product on the website, it doesn't just end there. That alerts the system to say, hey, this person might be interested in this product, and then that sends out a campaign across social, email, web, and personalize that for them to bring them in and educate them more on that product.
Yeah, I like that. I think, particularly where customer demands are growing and expecting more personalization, it's good to see that time being reinvested back into those areas.
Yeah.
And Andy, I'm going to move on to probably everybody's favorite topic, right, of governance and auditing, compliance. Apologies if anybody works in those areas, by the way. But I guess those areas are sometimes seen as maybe stumbling blocks for achieving true efficiency, and maybe some people blame them for slowing stuff down. I don't always necessarily agree with that. But I'm keen to understand how you engage your partners in those parts of the organization to continue driving efficiency.
Yeah, so the first thing about working with the risk and compliance teams, the first thing I actually noticed at BNY was nobody was actually talking to them. It was all done via email. Nobody actually knew what the people in compliance looked like. I actually picked up the phone. There's a guy, I won't mention his name. I spoke to him, he said to me, no one's ever called me, Andy. I've never had a conversation with anyone from marketing operations before. I said, hey, we'd like to improve this process. We know you're always complaining about it, and we're always complaining about your team, but I'm new to the team. I'd like to bring everyone together in a room. Let's discuss the challenges. This isn't just a project for us, it's a project for you as well. And I brought the guys together, and they were extremely grateful and played a valuable part in giving us feedback and helping us transition from the old compliance tool and the old process to Workfront and Workfront Proof, which works great.
Yeah, I like that. That's just doing something actually quite simple to break down silos that we just constantly hear about in financial services that causes issue, to be honest. So I think we're going to open up to the audience now, if that's all right. So hopefully there might be a few questions that have come in through Slido.
Hello, yes, there are some very interesting questions coming up. So let's start with the first one, which has got a couple of upvotes as well. To what extent can you automate email creation using Workfront? Does it drop the text straight into the email template and create the email in the program? Yeah,
so you can use a tool called Workfront Fusion. You can pick up all of the text from the form in Workfront and you can drop it straight into the email. You can take all that content and you can fully automate it end to end. I've not only trialed that at BNY, but I was also part of a beta when Workfront was first acquired by Adobe, where we were testing that and trialing it out, and I've seen it with my own eyes, so I can 100% confirm you can do that end to end.
That's great, thank you. So then the next question is, how long did it take to transition to your new process?
I'd say it took us about 6 to 12 months, but I would always recommend that don't worry too much about time. It's key to do it correctly. And take your time, and of course there's going to be stumbling blocks and issues along the way. That's normal. So make sure you give yourself a generous amount of time. Sometimes I hear businesses saying, we're going to do this quickly, we're going to do a rapid transformation. In my experience, often that doesn't work, and it just causes more headaches and problems. This is a 12-month project. If you want to transform and save 4,000 to 5,000 hours, it's not something that's going to be done in, 4 to 6 weeks. So give yourself the right amount of time, factor in, long time for testing, planning, speaking to the right parties, gathering the right information, running a couple of use cases, starting it first with a pilot team, build all of that into the project and make sure that you do it comprehensively.
That's great. Thank you. Is the process of uploading the HTML from Marketo to Workfront manual?
It is manual, yeah, but if you've used Marketo before, you'll know you click on the email, download HTML, and then you put the file into Workfront. It is something that we've discussed as a team, potentially improving, but when something only takes 2-3 minutes, currently, making it 30 seconds is not going to really, change the world. So maybe something for the future, and I'm sure it will be possible to automate, but right now, it's not an area of concern in our current process.
Okay, great. The questions are coming in thick and fast now, guys. So this one we've answered. Does this process work with dynamic email content for multiple languages?
Where's Zoe? Can Zoe put a hand up? I don't know the answer to that one, Zoe. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think we could definitely give it a go. I'm sure there's some people here today that could answer that question for you. But yeah, that would be a challenging use case. And it's one of the reasons we've kept it semi-automated, because it just gives us that little bit of flex. But I think what we're going to look at next for us is certain campaigns, trying to fully automate them. There are, the single email campaigns, for example. But yeah, I would actually love to. I would love to know the answer to that question myself. So if I do find it out, I will remember your name and find you.
Let's pick up after Zoe, because there might be somebody we can introduce you to.
I'm sure it's possible, but I couldn't confirm that.
Okay, we've got time for a few more questions, right? A couple more. Yeah, great. So is there anyone else in the industry that's made good progress in this area? We're asking you to
give it a stab and then see if you've got anything to add. So I'm actually going to plug a couple of sessions from US Summit if you haven't seen any of it. I'd call out T. Rowe Price and Prudential, who both did sessions there that looked at their content supply chain, they looked at their marketing processes, and they both have shaved hundreds of hours of time, which they've then been able to reinvest back in the business. Whilst you're here, Sage have got a session this afternoon on content supply chain, which I'd recommend going along to. And I think there's another session tomorrow as well. Don't quote me on the time, but I think it might be 11:30. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But yeah, definitely check out T. Rowe and Prudential. They've got really good stories.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. If you were to do this process again, I like this question. What would you do differently?
Oh.
Interesting one, right?
Yeah, great question. There's nothing really comes to mind. It was a successful project. I think there's things that we want to do, after this project, other areas we feel we can potentially improve, but I wouldn't change much about the way we did it because it went really well.
That's great, because that's the next question. So the next question says, some of the results shared are amazing. What is the focus now at BNY?
Yes, there's a couple of things that we're looking at. Attribution is a big one for us. Anyone that works in financial services will know that it's actually more challenging in asset management than many other industries. The investments that we see can often come in anonymously. So trying to tie them back to a campaign is very, very difficult. So we are looking at attribution and, can we actually see the results in terms of financial results of our campaigns? The other thing that is of interest to me today is, coming to this event is AI. I don't know if any of you have used some of the AI tools, but I have asked the AI tools to create a project template for me. And I'm wondering if we can do that and then that template can be put into Workfront. So if you are creating a new project template, that would save time. You don't have to type out all the tasks and all the different things. You could get the AI system to create that, make some tweaks, and then upload it to Workfront. So that's something that I'm looking at as well as an improvement. And then the other thing is, obviously, improvements within the team, and career growth. So, training on Fusion, training on Workfront Proof, trying to ensure that the team understand our full stack and can support the business, in its entirety.
Okay, great. Last question. Have you used the process within Workfront also to schedule and align on campaigns and timings?
I haven't used that process. Who's asked that question?
That comes from Michael.
Yeah. So that's probably something I could learn from Michael today if he's around after the session.
Guys, Andy and I will be hanging around after as well, so if you've got any further questions or you want to follow up, please come and find us. I think we've got one final slide.
Oh, we can,
and,
we can do one final question.
No, we've got a final slide. And then
We've got a final
yeah,
slide,
we're good to
okay.
Amazing. So guys, thanks so much. A couple of takeaways we want to leave you with. I think the first is really up the emphasis on people and culture within your teams. Work with them to understand where the knowledge gaps are, where is extra training needed. Create feedback loops and mechanisms and try and create more of a sense of ownership for those that are really close to the process. You've heard from Andy the importance of people and culture and driving better performance. I think the second, really take a magnifying glass to your processes. If you haven't done an end-to-end audit of your campaign life cycle and the processes that touch it, do that. You're going to find probably areas of wastage, time that's could be used better elsewhere, and money that's being spent that you could reinvest elsewhere too. And then lastly, scrutinise your tools. Are you using tools that you already have to their full capacity? Are there new features that have been announced? Stay on top of those announcements and look at the training that exists and the communities out there that can support with that. And where you have multiple tools, can they work together a little bit more? I think we've heard today a great example from Andy on how they're using Marketo combined with Workfront to try and achieve success and efficiency gains, which they've seen some great results from. So yeah, those are the takeaways. Andy, massive thanks again for all your help and support in this session. And details are on screen. If anybody wants to keep in touch, please reach out. Yeah. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the summit.
Thank you, Andy and Kieran.